But you know what was really fun? Bussin' with the Boys on Barstool Sports, where Josh Jacobs was on there giving a little bit of insight. And he was talking about his days at the Raiders. He was talking about why he left the Raiders and how he almost committed to Missouri, which we'll get to that in a bit. But I'll be honest, he looked like he had a lot of class on that interview. He did fantastic on there. Like I
Yeah.
like where he talked about where when the Raiders were stomping on the logo, the Chiefs logo, and he's telling them, if you do that, you better stand on it. Don't be doing that kind of stuff now.
Mhm.
But what do? They get beat
Yeah.
48-9.
I,
He was
I,
mad.
I can guarantee you, I know where he learned that. That don't do it. Don't do it. I know where he learned that.
Uh-huh.
I know a guy that kind of taught him well. Great story, and a great person, obviously. And we knew that, obviously, when he came to Alabama, we started hearing his story and everything. I mean, it just connected, made a lot of sense, and a lot of character. Coach Saban knows how to. He knows how to read individual. He has that uncanny, just innate ability to read, personality and character and stuff like that. And obviously he knew that was. And I know they had their little differences and stuff like that, but in the end, both of them came together and it was meant to be. Really, to be honest with you, it was meant to be. He was meant to be at Alabama. It was meant for him to learn from Coach Saban, and it was meant to be for Coach Saban to learn from him and his story because it's powerful.
Yeah. Well, and
Probably
he
be a
went
movie
into depth.
someday.
He went into depth a little bit about the days of being teammates with Antonio Brown, which
Yeah,
that dude is.
yeah,
I think that dude needs Jesus. Let's put it that way.
yeah. And Josh Jacobs, I can't see him a lot of relating to Antonio Brown and that what he the all the crap he brings to the table. Just blah blah, all that kind of stuff, just turmoil and controversy. And Josh has never been one to be, that type of person to be just in the controversy and that type of scenario. And Antonio Brown, tough, tough, tough. But I liked his story. It's a beautiful story. Well, in hindsight, to see how he grew as a person. When you listen to what he had to go through, I mean, it's tragic, not fair, but those stories of overcoming adversity, overcoming obstacles. I mean, he's got a beautiful story with regard to that. I can relate to him. Most people, they look at somebody like me, and I'm a teacher and stuff like that, and I tell my students, you can't look at the outside to know your life experiences. I mean, Jack, I grew up in foster care. My brother and I were given up for adoption at birth in Mobile, Alabama. I spent 8 years. My brother spent 10 years in foster care. And luckily, we were finally adopted. My mother and father adopted us, and they were older later in life. And so I leave Mobile, Alabama. And next thing you know, I have a new life in Hartselle, Alabama. And anybody knows that's kind of halfway between Huntsville and Birmingham. And grew up there and went from having nothing to just having a great life and stuff like that. And so, Josh, and those stories, you don't, when you look at somebody, sometimes you don't realize, maybe you don't know. The outside looks like everything's hunky dory and everybody's had a great life and stuff like that. But when you stop, pause, and listen to what they have to say, you learn a lot of things. And I see a lot of what happened to him. A lot of it translates to how my brother and I, how we grew up, and in foster care. And I mean, they moved us all over. I mean, I went to 4 different elementary schools when I was in the first grade because they moved us around. I mean, foster care back in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s was not a don't think many people want to live that life. And so I can relate to Josh Jacobs and what he's saying, and the struggles he had with his family and stuff like that. And I hope a lot of people will gravitate to that story, because I sure do.
Yeah. Because it was like he was able to overcome quite a lot. He did all right at Alabama. He was fantastic, and he did very well at the Raiders. Now he's doing well at the Packers.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. It seems to me. Now I don't know. We're going on what we've seen, whatever, but we don't know we're not there 24 hours a day to see what he goes through. But it seems like he doesn't dwell on the negatives, and he doesn't dwell too much on the past. He doesn't seem like he pulls the old pity party. I feel sorry for me. I mean, naturally, you're going to do that for a little bit, maybe a couple hours, maybe a day, maybe a week, but you don't live your life.
Well,
excuse me, Holland in Alabama, but you don't spend, people that overcome, you don't spend a vast portion of your daily life dwelling on the negatives.
I mean, he could have been dwelling about like the exit of the Raiders, but he didn't. It's like the Raiders screwed him big time. Like, he actually didn't want to leave the Raiders. He's like, I had a house bought and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, good grief.
Yeah, like, nature of the beast.
It doesn't surprise me, the Raiders being morons.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
look where they are now. They're in Las Vegas. And, team in transition, poor ownership. I mean, Al Davis, when, bless his heart, when he passed, I mean, it's just been downhill ever since.
I mean, it's like
it'll poor leadership, poor ownership, and how many times? I mean, how many? I mean, teams, franchises do we have to go through? I mean, you look at Major League Baseball. I mean, it's pathetic. I mean, poor ownership leads to, just chaos.
Oh yeah. I mean, he says he likes Mark Davis. He's fine with him, but that's the equivalent of everything's fine when it's not really fine.
Mm.
But that's just my take on it.
The truth really doesn't come out until a little while afterwards. You finally learn the real scoop and the real story and everything. And Oakland, so many teams. I mean, just making. I mean, look right now, Colorado, Rockies. I mean, baseball. I mean, you just keep going. Basketball, it just keeps going and going and going. And I mean, poor ownership, poor decisions, poor management, and there you go. And then there's Josh. He gets caught right up in the mix.
Because it's like, sets other teams for wanting, hey, come on in. But Raiders didn't want to keep him. They regret it now. At least I hope they are. I mean, he's another weapon for Jordan Love at the Packers.
Yeah, honestly, and a true character guy. Guys like him are always going to step up, and they'll be there in the end. And then, that's why one day he'll be in the Hall of Fame somewhere, because he's a special person. You don't wind up in the Hall of Fame being a turd.
No.
Good guy, good person, makes great decisions. He'll wind up Hall of Fame somewhere.
I just feel bad for him that he had to be teammates with Antonio Brown and Vontaze Burfict. I mean, like, Burfict, that guy was a complete and total douche. And for those that don't remember him, he's the guy that was giving out those late hits. Like, he's the guy that basically ended his career from giving a Colts player a late hit in 2019. It's like, I don't feel too bad for Vontaze Burfict, but I feel bad for Josh Jacobs for having to deal with a guy like that on the roster in his rookie year. I mean, shoot.
Mm-hmm.
You can overcome being teammates with Vontaze Burfict. You can overcome anything.
Well, in the locker room too, if you have a lick of sense. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm saying I've been in locker rooms with a bunch of nuts and a bunch of idiots and a bunch of morons and I ain't got a clue. And I'm like, what are they thinking? But if you're somebody that's got a little bit of common sense, you're aware enough to know, all right, this guy's nut. I don't need to be around him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got to, you remember, let's say, that old saying, birds of a feather flock together?
Oh yeah.
You know that old saying? I mean, you ever
Mhm.
drive down the, Parkway and you see the little power lines and you see a bunch of little crows up there? Have you ever seen a little red cardinal amongst them?
Oh
No.
yeah.
All right. So I'm a teacher. I know, and I tell kids. I go in the hallways. I mean, I can tell a lot about you as a person just by who are you standing, who are you associating with, who are you standing with in the hallway. Okay. And birds, because jocks will hang around jocks, cheerleaders will hang around cheerleaders, thugs will hang around thugs. And so, you've got to have that mindset. So somebody like Josh Jacobs seems like he has an awareness that, okay, I just don't want to hang around with that. And so, if you have that grounding, if you have that mental, balance within yourself, then that's not Antonio Brown. These people, I'll go. They can do all, and I'll support you. Yeah, you're great, all that kind of stuff. But as far as going out after the game with you, as far as hanging out, being your buddy, and nah, birds
I,
of a
I'm
feather
just
will flock together, and good kids will hang around good kids.
I'm just glad that Jacobs didn't have to deal with Antonio Brown in the regular season. It was only in the preseason
Yeah.
and the off. Oh my god, that Antonio Brown did nuts. Like every day, it was a headline. He froze his feet, and he's fighting with the general manager to the point that Burfict and Richie Incognito are having to break it up. And then there's like one time where he's like yelling at his boss because he got fined 100,000 or something, and then he's like screaming at him, and he's punting the ball, going, "Find that!" And then he
Mm,
gets fined another 100 grand, and then he's like running his mouth on Instagram about how bad the Raiders are and this, that, and the other. It's like,
mm.
oh my god! Like I know, like Josh Jacobs being nice, saying that I like Antonio Brown. He handled it better.
Play the game. Play the
He
game.
could have handled it better, but it's just
Yeah, just play
I,
the
I got a
game.
feeling if we're ever in the room with Josh Jacobs, he's probably like, I'm glad I'm not friends with that guy anymore.
Yeah, just play the game and just don't burn any bridges. Just play the game and
Oh yeah,
move on, and just know who you need to be around.
yeah. I mean, like,
I tell students in the classroom, I mean, nobody's hiring stupid. I mean, if it's me, I'm gonna hang around winners. I'm gonna hang around smart people. I'm gonna learn something. They're making good decisions. I'm gonna learn from them. But these flamboyant, crazy, all drama queens and kings and that kind of stuff, princes and princesses. Don't hang around they're not gonna get you anywhere.
well, Josh Jacobs is the definition of a winner, and
Mm-hmm.
if the Packers were to win a Super Bowl, I hope he becomes the MVP for that. That would be cool.
Time will tell.
But we have
He's one you root for. Yeah,
agreed. He's a
yeah.
winner for sure.